got you under my skin. I've got you deep in the heart of me. So deep in my heart.
Hey, welcome back to Piece of Chaos. This week, I have a guest. Her name is Lynne Hiriak. Lynne and I have been friends since, third grade, something like that. And I've always admired Lynne because she knew what she wanted to be when she grew up, when she was very young, and pulled it off. And I always thought that was amazing. We had a pretty wide-ranging conversation, and it was pretty interesting to learn about making it in New York City's high fashion industry. And you'll hear about that. And if you want to go check out her stuff, she was the CEO and the everything of Cardigan New York. And now she consults for major fashion companies. And she's a badass and a very good friend for a long, long time of mine. So keep in mind we had a couple of little technical glitches along the way. So there's a couple little choppy spots, but it'll be fine. Enjoy my conversation with Lynne Hiriak. So you doing any traveling soon?
I am actually. I'm going to Paris. First time out of the country since the pandemic, so I'm going to Paris at the end of the what month? At the end of this month.
Nice.
Which is pretty exciting. Pretty exciting, but also a little. What's the word? It's a little nerve-wracking because I've been to Paris many times, but one Paris I was trapped, and I would actually use the word trapped in Paris for almost 3 weeks during 9/11.
Oh, wow.
So the only, again, it's really more of a superstitious thing for me. I'm flying out on September 10th because last year I flew out not last year, when I was trapped in Paris, I flew out on September 11th. So the day that I was supposed to leave was when the incident happened. So now I have this superstition that I never fly on September 11th. So
were you in the air when that all went down?
No, I was out all day because obviously the time difference. And so when I got back to my hotel to order a car to go to the airport, the guy was like, "You're not going anywhere." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And at that time we had, no cell phones. We barely had email.
Right.
We barely had email, but that was attached to a computer or desktop that was, in an office. And there were no cell phones at the time. I don't even think, or at least I didn't have one, but I think like the only cell phones that existed at that point were like Motorola StarTACs for people.
God, can you even imagine not knowing what's happening at all times in the world constantly?
Yeah. And so whenever, the truth is I actually am pretty good at not needing a phone or not needing to be attached to my iPhone. I can leave it for a day or two if I need to. Because I always sort of think about, in a crisis, I was without a phone and, I actually wasn't fine, but however, I survived.
Yeah.
I got by, and it was a very, so it actually brings up a lot of memories, just from, even though I've been in Paris many times in between, but just never around September 11th. So.
Yeah, I was in Disneyland or Disney World when that happened. And George Bush was there too. He was in Florida. So they were like scrambling fighter jets and stuff over top of us and all this. And we ended up, I don't know if you remember, well, you wouldn't remember because you weren't on the East Coast, but there was like a monsoon storm also. And so the only way to get from Florida back to home in Philadelphia at the time was we drove. And luckily I already had a rental car because you couldn't get rental cars.
Oh
And,
my God.
and so we're driving back north up I-95. And there were parts of it where you couldn't go more than like 5 miles an hour because it was just such horrific rain. And then since we were driving, my boss at the time was a goofball, and he was just like, "Hey, you're driving back. Stop in South Carolina. They have really good fireworks, right?" So uh, I stop in South Carolina. He's like, "Buy like $200-300 worth of fireworks." I'm like, "Okay." So I buy all these fireworks and put them in the trunk of my rental car, and then we're driving back home. Finally, get through all the storms and stuff, and the airport was like on my way home, and my car was there. But as I'm pulling into the off ramp for the airport, I'm like, I can't go to the airport with a trunk full of explosives
Oh my God.
right now. So I had to like drive home first in the rental car and drop off all the fireworks and then go back to the airport to get my car. It was crazy, man. It's
So
Jesus.
how long did it actually take you to get from, because I've done that trip, very unpleasant.
Yeah, it is very unpleasant.
Yeah.
I can't remember if we stopped somewhere, honestly. I really don't remember. We may have just gone straight through because it should be like, now we must have stopped somewhere because the rain was too bad, but I just don't remember where. But, it's like 18 hours or something to go all the way up to Philly from there.
Yeah.
Something like that. And it's, I-95 the whole way. It's miserable.
It depends if your mother's driving.
Oh man. Yeah. So that was a weird time. I really obviously hope we don't ever have to deal with that again, but it seems like I was just telling my daughter today, like, other than that, we kind of skated through for like most of our lives, no major stuff happening. Like life was pretty damn breezy, and now it seems like we get a pandemic every other week. There's constantly shit to be worried about. It's weird.
It's true. And it's funny you say that because when I was thinking about being on this podcast, I was really thinking about, when, one of the things I was mulling over was really just, what did I want to be when, what did I want to be when I was younger? It was very interesting because I was just sort of thinking about how we had it was very like Stranger Things, like parentless.
Yeah.
Like no, no disrespect to my parents, but that was just how life was. Like we were sort of free. We did whatever we wanted. Sort of, honestly, like we were on our own in a sense, because the world was so nice and there was no evil. And like I think like what was the most evil thing that I could think of? Like it was like Darth Vader on Star Wars,
Well, there was a little bit of like Russia stuff,
yes,
right? Like there was this nuclear war threat. If you remember, like War Games came out in like 1983 or something like that. So there was this, Russia War Games thing. The Challenger blew up, but that didn't really scare me as a kid. It didn't affect us as kids. I didn't want to be an astronaut. It was an isolated incident.
That
we
was
didn't
also
get so
sad because
it's terrible.
Because like my mother is a teacher, and so therefore it definitely hit home more. But if anything, it actually made people more ambitious.
Yeah,
and but yeah, the Russia thing, you're right. Like that was the Cold War, and
but we didn't really get it. Like it was just this like loose,
Just-
like our parents didn't get so crazy like they did in the 50s and build bomb shelters. They were just like, it's, yeah, whatever, maybe, but
Well, I think it was because they were too busy having fun.
maybe.
Like when you talk about like the '80s and like Reagan and good times and you know booming economy and
Yeah.
just sort of like like I honestly, and especially again now that I have a pool, I think a lot about growing up when I was dropped off at the pool, again unsupervised
Yeah. Yeah.
by like our lifeguards were our babysitters,
Yeah.
but literally no parents from 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And
In the summer.
in the summer, 5 days a week, because on the weekends your parents would come with you,
Yeah.
which felt really strange. Like, oh, my parents are here. but I mean, again, like it was just like that was all we did all summer. It was literally like like there were no crazy major, and if there were, maybe we didn't know about it because what you only knew about what you read in the newspaper.
Yeah. And it was
But
local.
I was 12. I wasn't really reading the paper at 12.
Yeah, it was all local
Yes.
stuff. And yeah, it's I'm sad actually for my kids that they don't get that. You know what I mean? Like we don't
Yeah.
leave them alone. Like I took my daughter to a concert I don't know, a couple months ago, but I like dropped her off at the concert. I let her go in with her friend, and like that was the first time I'd ever done that. She's 15, so it was just like, and I don't think my parents did that for me. I remember going to a concert with Jason in like 1988. So that we would have been older. But like, it was weird. It was weird to just be like, off you go. You know what I mean? And of course I waited in the car, and when they came out, I was there, and we walked to you know what I mean? Like it wasn't like completely unsupervised. I didn't throw her in an Uber and send her to downtown Los Angeles, but like, and she was pissed too, because I was waiting outside of the venue. It was this really cool theater in Los Angeles called the El Rey. And it was a Gracie Abrams concert. Do you know Gracie Abrams?
I don't.
She's really good. She's really good. And so two things happened. Like, so I'm sitting there, there's like a little Mexican restaurant next to the venue. So I was just sitting there having some chips and like waiting for the concert to end, but I could hear it. It was, I could hear the concert, and it was fantastic. So I'm just like, this is great. I just get to sit here and hear this concert. And all of a sudden this like crew of like odd looking adults is the best way I can put it. Like odd group of adults started like assembling in front of the theater, like on the sidewalk, and they all were holding like record albums and stuff. And I was like, oh, that's weird. Like Gracie Abrams is like a 20-year-old girl or something, and most of the people at the concert are younger. And these were like adults, like older people, my age and older, and just like really weird. So I was like, I guess it's like paparazzi or something waiting for Gracie Abrams. But I'm like, why would she come out the front door? Like, what is going on? And so out the door walks Olivia Rodrigo, who is also like a young artist, right? So
Right.
She's literally 2 feet from me, standing there, like walks out because I guess she had been at the concert and she was leaving early. And all of these nutbag adults, and she's like 19. Gracie Abrams is like 19 and like rail thin, just a little girl, basically. I was like, Jesus, like in person, she is just a very young, small girl, and I was just like, holy shit. So all these adults come like up to her, like getting in her face, like, Olivia, can you, like asking her to sign shit. And she made a beeline. This limo van just like pulled up in front of the place. She just like ran into the truck and like sped away. And I was like, what a shitty life. She's got all these weirdos like attacking her when she just goes to a concert. And then 5 minutes later, J.J. Abrams walks out, and has another group of weirdos holding like Star Wars figures and shit for him to sign, like JJ, like all this stuff. I'm like, what is going on? Why am I seeing all these people? And then I was like, I looked up the marquee. I was like, oh, it's Gracie Abrams as his daughter. So that's why JJ Abrams was there, right? But I had no idea. But I was just fascinated by these paparazzi weirdos that make people sign things and then sell them on eBay. I was like, that's bullshit. But then she was pissed at me because I saw Olivia Rodrigo, and she's like, "Did you get a picture?" I'm like, "No." It was like to me, it's like, this is a teenage girl. I'm not going to be like, "Oh, look, there's." I was just like, "No, it's weird. It's weird enough that I'm sitting here."
Oh
But
my God.
yeah, man, I think about that a lot. Like my parents were awesome. They were super fun to be around, but there's a lot of time that I'm just like, I don't know what they were doing when I was doing things, when I was out. I mean, I know like when we were little kids, like grade school age, I was just playing baseball. Like I rode my bike to a place and played baseball all day, all summer, or once in a while we would go to that pool, that like public pool in Pottstown there. I don't know, Manatawny Pool or something, or Sunnybrook was another one that was there. But like,
Well,
yeah, it was a different existence.
It's also like Peanuts. Like where the parents are like, wah, 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 wah. Like I kind of feel like sort of like the perimeter. Like our parents were on the perimeter.
Yeah.
Like they were not like the main cast of characters at all. It was like they were just like, it was sort of like, I'd go to your house. Oh, like, yeah. Like just kind of like, it was literally like not about the parents at all. And like the parents were just like on the sidelines.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's foggy to remember all that stuff, but I think about like having parties at our houses and even in grade school, like, and going to the roller skating parties, like when we would go to that roller rink, that was like a huge deal. Yeah, that was like my favorite thing.
Do you know that I went roller skating? So I used to be a really good roller skater, like, ringing rocks or whatever. I was never like that good, but I was like pretty good, and I was fast, and I was like,
Yeah.
I remember like I guess it was like in college or post college, there was like roller skating at the Roxy in New York City. It was like a famous, I forget what night it was. And I went being kind of like, yeah, I can still roller skate. Like, yeah, I used to roller skate when I was like 12. Let me tell you, I actually not forgot, but like I actually was not very good at roller skating. And people were like, yeah, you roller skated. And I was really bummed because I felt like my evening was kind of ruined because all I did was sort of like, like wheel around, like. And I literally was, and the same thing happened to me with ice skating where, like I wasn't, again, a very good ice skater, but
you could get by.
I skated enough as a kid where I had my own pair of skates and it mattered that they fit and we would actually use them every winter.
Yeah.
But so again, like we went to like, Woolman Rink, and again, like it was like a work party and I was just kind of like, yeah, here we go. And like
you were thinking you're going to do some flips and ice capade shit.
I was just like, oh, okay, I'm going to like, and my at the time was actually like sort of like a junior skater or whatever.
Yeah.
And again, like I literally was like, oh my God, my ankles are not the same ankles that I used to have. And I can barely like stay on my skates.
Yeah. It's hard.
I actually couldn't believe it. It was sort of like, it was actually like somebody, like it was just bizarre. But again, like, and I had like, and I had such confidence, like, oh yeah, we're going to go skating. How fun. And again,
ice skating's hard.
I spent my night basically just learning how to skate again.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. We go every winter. They like put one of those like a rink just outside, like, because they can. Like a hockey rink, and Christmas time, and you can skate around. And it's all I can do to get around the circle without killing myself. Like it's like so difficult to skate. I wasn't good either, but I could stay up and like cross one skate over the other and shit. But it's just like, man, yeah, those muscles go away real quick. But yeah, it was pretty freeing being a kid. Since Stranger Things is set in the 80s and I'm watching that with the kids, they always ask me questions about it because it's like the 80s. I'm like, yeah, this is how I grew up. That's how the Duffer Brothers nailed it. Like, this is what it felt like, other than the haircuts, which are ridiculous. But like, it, you go to the mall and you get on your bike and you disappear for hours, and
it was pretty accurate.
Yeah, they did a really good job. I mean, that freedom, though, like, I don't know, you're like a person that to me was always like so inspiring because you knew from such a young age what you wanted to do. And I was just like, that's so cool. Cause I felt pretty untethered. Like I didn't jump from thing to thing. I had a few things that I really centered on, but like, I had no concept of like the steps it would take. Like, so for example, I love to play baseball, but that's a stupid career aspiration. Like, really, like, best case scenario, how many people make it to the major leagues? It's ridiculous, small number. And then,
Well, how long did you hang on to that hope?
Oh, freshman year of college, it was over. That was when I leveled up. Like, you just see like, oh yeah, I was good in my little town, but I'm not good in bigger towns.
Right.
And it just changes. And I always had music, but also with music, there was definitely no clear path then. You had to get a record deal or you weren't a musician. Like, that was it. So like, even that path was kind of like weird and didn't feel like something you could necessarily do that easily. And also I feel like growing up on the East Coast, you're kind of, and this is why I want to hear about like going to New York, because I didn't get out of there until I was much older, but I feel like it definitely can artificially hold you down and think that things aren't possible. Like, you know what I mean? Like the East Coast, like especially around Philly, it's just like, nobody does that. What are you, a freak? You got to stay here and have a shitty job and life sucks,
So it's funny, Matt. I actually have so many things to say about that, because I actually think that a part of the reason why we felt that way, because that's actually, it's funny. That's also part of my story of sort of like no, you can't do that. Like, why would you do that? I actually really think that at the end of the day, that it was, again, because back to the, not ever having email or having internet access or understanding like what was really possible out in the world, and like, that's why, like, like you only knew what you knew. Like, even though for me, New York City was only 3 hours away, it was like, it could have been France.
Yeah.
And the thing is that like, you didn't have access to information or knowledge, or, you only knew what you saw on TV or what you read, again, in the local newspaper, because it's not like you could even get a New York Times. Like,
yeah.
You got a New York Times subscription, like, so I think that also has to do with it, sort of like, again, like the just not being able to access. So therefore, like, you sort of didn't know that, you didn't know how to, like, say, like, become a comedian, or,
right.
Like literally, like when you were doing comedy, even in high school, for like the talent show, you were, I was kind of like, who does comedy at a talent show? Like, like Seinfeld I don't think Seinfeld even existed yet.
No.
Like during that time period. So like, it wasn't like a thing, unless, and again, like, you watch channel 369? I forget what our channels were.
3610, I think.
3610 and 12.
Yeah.
But like, the only comedy you really dealt with were like the 30-minute facts of life, slash, like, all the sitcoms, but you didn't actually, like, I didn't really see like stand-up comedy, except for SNL, which I was not allowed to stay up and watch.
See, I was deep into comedy even when I was a little kid. Like, from the time I was a little kid, I listened to stand-up records and watched stand up. We got HBO, I don't know in what year, and they had specials. So I was really into it, but I also didn't think that's a career path either. Like that didn't like it's so funny. It just seems so out of reach to like have that. And like I saw that I totally forgot about it actually. There's like a picture in our yearbook of me like imitating Mr. Mick
Yeah.
like in front of the whole school. And I was just like, I guess that was my first show. Like, you know, like
Yeah, I remember that.
it's so weird. It was so weird. But I mean,
I mean,
you
I thought that you were going to go on to be either a drummer, because you had that band, weren't you in that band?
yeah. Yeah. Me and Bresky were in a band. We played every year at the high school
Yeah.
talent show. And then I was in another band after that toured the country. That was the one that really like, that could have been the thing, but it was still the 90s. Like you had to get signed. Like it's actually, I would think, easier sort of now to find your following, to tour, to get people. Like we would show up in towns on tour and there'd be like 4 people there.
Well,
Just like,
I think that goes back to my point again of like just you sort of had to do it the really long hard way.
yeah.
But also, like, it's not like you go onto YouTube and get tips on like how to like do a tour. Not
Yeah. Yeah.
on wood, but whatever you want to access in terms of information or whatever, And so, like, I think that I definitely, because wanting to go to FIT was like a very, it was a very difficult choice for my mother because, she was an educator and I was second to my class and my mom didn't really have money. And my mother, like all my siblings all had to pay for their education. And by the time that, because I was much younger than them, by the time that I got into college, my mother was able to afford to send me to college. But, that was it. I mean, I still had to go work in college and, buy my books and, but my mom basically said to me, well, okay, I'll make a deal with you. If you go into FIT, okay, I'll pay for it, but the second year you need to start getting scholarships. Otherwise, you're going to have to figure out, or you're going to have to take out loans and fortunately I did, but I had also given up a scholarship to Temple, full ride.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I think I told you that my mom's still looking for Kitty Peck's mother to thank her. And I also considered Drexel. And I had gotten like a partial scholarship, I think, at Drexel, but I just said to my mom, like, look, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it all the way. And the best school for fashion is in New York. It's FIT, and that's where I'm going. And my mother was kind of like, well, if you get in.
Yeah.
My mother was like, definitely, like, she did not believe that I was ever, I mean, poor her. She's thinking of like alternative life scenarios for me. And I thought of nothing except for like, oh yeah, I'm going to get into FIT. I mean, scared that I wasn't going to? Yes. But was I planning what the next steps were if I wasn't? Absolutely not. So, and
how did you even figure that out at that time? Like to know what the process was to get in and what you had to do and your portfolio and all that?
There was a lot of
stuff,
research, a lot of like calling up the school, how does it go? Getting dates. Like, again, you couldn't go on the internet and go find out the information. It was like, you find out FIT like accepts applications during this time period. And I actually don't even remember how. I don't know if you remember the guy I used to date, Shane.
Sure. Yeah.
So Shane, he also, we both went to art school in Philly together. Oh, maybe that's how it was. We had an art teacher. She was wonderful. Her name was Kim Lyles at Moore College of Art. We were taking high school, basically they were like classes for high school students. I believe Moore College of Art is no longer around. I believe that. I
think you're right.
But I believe it was actually our art teacher who hooked us up with the information of how to get into FIT. We both originally got into FIT for fashion design, but with the idea that we were both going to do fashion illustration. Shane was incredible. I mean, I told you that, he's still at, or he was at Marvel Comics, or, he's incredibly gifted. And that just reminded me, we're supposed to make that connection.
Yeah. That's cool.
Oh my God.
Cool.
Sorry about that, Matt. All of a sudden, I'm like, oh, do you know Shane? Of course you know.
It's the pool.
We had the
It's the
conversation.
pool.
Yeah. Yeah. And also he went to the prom with me. So I think you remember him from coming to the prom with me. So
yeah, absolutely.
So it was through her that we were connected, and I remember we were again talking on the green phone, and oh my God, like, because Shane lived in Delaware, my phone bills were ridiculous. It was, I mean, my mother was so upset because like she was getting like $300 phone bills, and we were talking about like $300 phone bills in like 1988 money. So
how fucked up is it? You had to pay to call a different state.
Exactly.
Like that doesn't even exist anymore.
Exactly. Like again,
God, they screwed us.
Yeah, those are the things that people don't remember. Exactly. So, and I remember he called me, and my heart sank a little bit because he was like, "I got the letter. I got in," and I was happy for him. But all of a sudden, I was like, "Oh my God, I haven't gotten a letter."
Yeah.
So I got a letter like one day later, and again, that's the amazing thing. Like snail mail, you actually got a physical letter. But the question was like, what if I didn't get that letter? What if like the mailman lost it? Like
they were better at their job then, I think.
It's like there was definitely a lot more accuracy. I mean, I was getting
that was all there was. That was it.
Yeah.
Like that was like a serious job.
Yes.
They definitely, now you don't get anything worth a shit in the mail.
So that was like, and of course, like the minute, my parents are like the typical, like the minute I got into FIT, all of a sudden, like my mom's buying like all the FIT merch.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to do that. I can't wait. I can't wait.
So
I want to buy a house in the town where my daughter goes to school. Like, just like a 3-story, like thing I can turn into apartments and rent to college kids, and I'll live like on the top floor. Like that is
that's actually
my dream.
That's actually a great idea.
Oh yeah, like rent it out, like be a landlord during college. That's the move. Like that's the shit. Like I think of this stuff now. I'm like, why didn't anybody tell me that?
Yeah.
Like you could have bought a shithole for like $25,000 back then and lived in it with your friends and charged other people rent. Like what a brilliant plan,
Well, exactly. So, because like the first year that I went to FIT, I was in the dorms, and like I'd see these people that would like go to school and they'd be like, "Oh, I live like a block away," and I'm kind of like, "Oh, that's so glamorous." And I was like, "Why don't I live a block away? Like, isn't it?" And then like when I found out like the rent was kind of the same amount of money as like money that my mother was paying. Okay, the only thing it like didn't include was like a meal plan, but the meal plan was shit anyway.
New York City. That's the other thing about New York City was, I mean, I spent a lot of time in New York City because of the band, but we didn't live there. We visited and went there and stayed at people's houses and crashed in people's apartments and stuff. And I could not believe how small apartments were in New York City. Like shared bathrooms, like a hallway where 10 apartments shared a bathroom in the middle of the hallway, and the room at the time. I mean, it was like definitely more than $1,000 a month, in these places. Like I was like, holy, how do you live? Like, and New York's crazy, but I mean, for that fashion, like, I mean, that's Mecca, right? I mean, that's the place, right? Paris and New York, pretty much. Right?
It's the place. And besides, like Paris is tough. Like you need like visa, and like they like you wouldn't have been able to work in Paris. Like it's just Parisians like Parisians to work in Paris.
Yeah.
And I actually think that that's like great, in the sense of like, I mean, on a side note, like if there's anyone who has like the most amazing labor laws for their employees in fashion, it's the French.
So,
I
so
would
like,
take those cues.
how does it go? And this is pure ignorance. How does it go from like the drawings I used to see you draw, right? So there's a pathway where, and you can talk about this in a minute, but like your company, Cardigan, you designed things that turned into real clothes that are like, clothes that normal people would wear, right? And like be in the world with those clothes. But there's also this whole other side of it that is just like crazy looking shit that nobody could possibly wear. But is it like, is it more like art in that sense? Like that is just an art show that happens to be clothes? You know what I mean? Like
There's
I don't see like people on the runway wearing normal clothes. They're always wearing weird, crazy shit. You're like, am I going to buy that at the store? Like nobody's going to wear that, but it's a thing. I just don't understand it. I'm completely ignorant of the whole thing.
Well, I think that what's amazing about clothing is that clothing is for all people and all ranges and all sizes and all cultures and all. So I think it's really fashion. I think that's really actually what's kind of amazing about fashion. And, and fashion is also very subjective. It's about, opinions, and it's about, so definitely fashion is about diversity, and it's really most importantly about self-expression. So I think really at the end of the day, like the choices in fashion really reflect all of the society. So yes, there is, what I would call like big box clothing, such as like the Targets, Old Navies of the world.
Yeah.
There is, to the range of like all the designer and runways. And yes, there is definitely fashion that is reflective more of like, more I would say of like art. Fashion is definitely meant to be, I think, like the best vehicle for creativity. So, but it is also meant to be a very functional utilitarian product.
Yeah.
So it's really just at what point on the ride would you like to get on?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I think is great about fashion. That's why fashion can be controversial. We ourselves as human beings are controversial.
Yeah.
Again, like diversity and culture, like when you really think about like what facilitates like clothing, and people will say like, well, clothing is different than fashion. I don't think so. I think it's all the same,
It's weird how it cycles though. Like if you look at a photo, you can be like, oh, that was the 70s, that was the 80s, that was the 90s. You can pick it out, and most people kind of conform.
Yes.
To those styles, even if it's subtle. Like we've always had blue jeans, but they've been different. In the 50s, you rolled them up. 60s, they were bell bottoms. 70s, they were bigger bell bottoms. Like it's really interesting.
So in fashion, we would technically call that a trend or trends.
Yeah.
And trends really what I mean. There's a business devoted to trends. Like we, some fashion companies do hire trend services to tell them, the whole of what's going on. But I think that each generation, first of all, what I, again, like I see the cycles, and now that I've been in the industry for so long, I'm seeing cycles like not just the second time, but maybe like the third time of things.
Yeah.
Like, yes, I am seeing the cycle of like white t-shirts with, destroyed denim again for the third time.
Right.
I am seeing, what am I seeing recently? Just for like fun facts. Like in terms of denim, like straight leg and wide-legged jeans are completely trend. Skinny jeans are out.
Yeah.
But I've seen that like happen already twice in my career.
It's so weird how that gets decided. Like we're all just like, yep, can't do that anymore.
Yes, it's true.
And the pandemic brought sweatpants into the forefront. Like, and I'm all for it.
Well, and I have to admit, I don't think it's a coincidence that that's why skinny jeans are out.
Mm.
You know, I think it's also like related to, you know, the particular, you know, time that we're in. But trust me, they will absolutely come back in at some point in time. Like that's
100%.
that's a given, you know.
But like, I think it'd be weird, like speaking for myself, if I followed the trends. Like literally, I've been wearing the same jeans and the same black t-shirts for like 20 years because I don't want to think about it. Like so if I was following the trends, it'd be weird. But I guess when I go out, before the pandemic, when we would go out to dinner or something, it'd be like, yeah, I got to get like a new shirt at least because this pattern looks 15 years old. You know what I mean? Like you just look, I don't know. It's so weird. It's this weird pressure you put on yourself, and people are so strange.
Well, I mean, definitely like fashion it's a social and a societal thing, you know? So, I mean, it clearly makes sense. It's ingrained in your tribe.
Yeah.
You know, like when you think about, you know, I mean, think about it. A soccer team, you know, your clothing, your uniform signifies who you are, or, you know, your identity. So, that's a whole other like conversation itself, you know?
So tell me about like, sort of the rise of Cardigan, and you know that it was a big deal. You know, it was an inspiring thing to watch from an external and see it become real. And I think didn't somebody famous wore your shirt, right, on TV or something, and that was another big like
Oh yeah, I mean,
Katie Holmes, right?
I mean, I did have a great PR company, and ironically, my friend Sid, who he was my PR guy who I met through the agency. We became good friends, and ironically, when I saw you the last time out in LA, I saw him for the first time in a few years because he moved out to Palm Springs with his partner. We had a ball. But yes, it was really his job at the end of the day, and it's sort of like, I mean, it's what you do in the system, what I would call like fashion system. You hire a PR agency, you know, they you know help you get celebrities to wear your clothes. I would say though that, you know, when I did Cardigan, that was never a goal. It didn't really matter to me, you know. I just wanted to sell sweaters. It was a nice fluke at the end of the day, and at the end of the day, it's really about marketing, as we all know.
Did you want like a storefront?
I did not want a store. I knew eventually I would have to go to store, but at that time, again, online was emerging, and so again, like when I laugh when I think about like my online website. I laugh when I think about how manual it was. You know, and I was very lucky. I had a very good team of people who were really willing to work through it, and but again, like digital at that time was, and I'll be honest, like that was one of the sort of probably like the issues that I had with really growing Cardigan. It was a time when digital growth was actually it was really blowing up, and I didn't have the means to be able to keep up with it, and nor did I at the time even want it to be that way. You know, I was really happy with
Yeah.
the interpersonal face-to-face and wholesaling. Wholesaling was still back then. So I think I just wasn't really prepared for the unglamorous parts of clothing, because at the end of the day, I wasn't designing cardigans. I was running a business, and running a business is absolutely one of the if I can put it this way, had I known what I was going to get into, I would have never done it.
Interesting. That's what I was going to ask. Because, like, if you could fast forward, so there you are in high school drawing. I got to go to FIT, and you're a phenomenal artist, and just the stuff that you used to draw was so cool. And you go to FIT, and now here you are. You've had this business. You've had this success. Like,
I would tell that person,
what would you
get an investor.
maybe
Everything
tell
I
that
did
person?
was always with my own money,
and
that was sort of like, I would have to say, one of the most amazing, incredible things.
If you would do
about
anything different,
it's an unusual thing to not have investors or get investors, but I was able to keep it. And when I decided not to keep it, I was in a very good place. I had a Japanese distributor. I had a nice life. I had a great work-life balance. I lived upstate. I actually moved upstate with the intention of staying up there, just having a few consultant clients in LA and Japan. But I was in a really good place with my brand and my business, which felt really great. And, that's why I feel like I can be super proud of it. And, when I left to really make the decision of going back to corporate, it was honestly just because I really had a retirement plan that was a lot quicker than where I knew Cardigan was going to get me. And I also, definitely Cardigan, I certainly left a lot of the ego at the door. And so that was I think one of the greatest lessons in life. And I'll be honest, like, it's what makes me excellent at the job that I do now. And I think, and to be quite honest, had I kept Cardigan at the time I did and not make the decision, the pandemic would have absolutely have killed the business. So during the pandemic, of course, I had all these thoughts of like, oh my God, could you imagine? I like, and the truth is like, when I had the business, I actually, I launched in the my business was only 1 year old when the recession happened in 2009-10. So I was already up against major odds. I actually survived and succeeded that recession.
Wow.
The ex CEO of Michael Kors, who was a good mentor to me, had said to me that in all of his 25 years of experience in the industry, including being CEO of Michael Kors, he had never been up against what happened in 2008 and 2009. And he saw me on the other side of that. He was extremely impressed. He was kind of like, "You're still here, huh?" Like, very impressive. So, I do feel that it made me, there were life lessons that I learned with Cardigan. Most of the lessons that I learned with Cardigan had all to do with my own growth. Growth as a manager, growth as a leader, growth as a human being. You know, I got much closer to my parents running it because my parents did help me out a lot. And my father, who used to specialize in business operations, he and I definitely got a a lot closer because of the experience. And it definitely made me a realist, you know. Do I still love clothes?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Do I definitely see a different purpose for designing now. You know, I no longer am starry-eyed. I because clothing is so demystified to me in terms of like how to design it and then like, produce it. Just because when I had my business, I was doing everything, including, brokering in the product and working with like, the air and freight services to, give them a check and get it in the country and, have it sent to my office door. So a lot of the romance was sort of taken out of it. But what I do love about the current company that I'm at is that we're in the product of making clothes, but good clothes, and clothing with a purpose, and I do think that at the time when I started Cardigan, it's what I had to do at that time. At that time, I was still with Michael Kors. And I was actually a design director at a very young age, at the age of 28, which is pretty young for, I would say, like New York industry standards for, corporate culture. And 5 years later, I just sort of, and I flipped between doing menswear and womenswear, and the company at the time was about to go public, so they were definitely going through a particular different type of environment that I was always used to, like a small business environment. Michael was like a small business at the time, and it was honestly still to this day the best work environment I've ever had. I still have excellent friends from there. We're very close. We're very tight. But I just felt that, just personally, so the reason why I left was really just more about, I just knew that I needed something more. I think I needed to leave the corporate structure. I had, I was honestly probably a little bored. And I think that, and originally I left to consult. And I knew that it was the right decision because the day that I came home, I was having dinner with friends, and I went to the one friend's house because he was visiting. He was visiting from LA, and he said, "Oh, I have a job for you." So I got a consulting job literally like the day that I quit. So I knew that that was the universe saying like, "Good choice." And I just, and the truth is, and I always had the consulting business, even. And the consulting business was what kept me going. And the truth is that was probably like the real business at the end of the day, because that was what kept the lights on. It paid the bills, but also the consulting business is really what, at the end of the day, gave me the, I would say it gave me like all the tools that I needed to negotiate, all the tools that I needed. Ironically, I learned those tools to apply to running, the brand and the business. So, and I just had like a different point of view and a different lens. So I was just very lucky at that time. And, and I probably over the course of 15 years, I've worked for probably over 50 companies.
Wow.
So,
you're a legit fashion badass.
What's that?
You're a legit fashion badass.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll take But yeah, and it's very interesting because when if you look at my resume, you would be like, if you're in the industry, you'd be kind of like, this is a crazy resume. Not because of like it's more of a crazy resume because of the diversity of the resume. Like I have been a consultant for manufacturers. I've been a consultant for high-end runway luxury designers. I've been a consultant for volume mass market businesses, and I've been a consultant for all the brands kind of in between.
Yeah.
So that's something I do look at my resume and I am very proud of it. It's an unusual resume.
Yeah.
So, and it's something that I always go to when I sort of think about like, well, when was I happiest, or like which client made me the happiest, which, which like who would I call back up again, know?
Yeah.
So and I also think that like, there's no pressure for me now, like ironically, in terms of like the retirement aspect of it, in terms of like never being able to work or find work, because I feel like I could, like my fallback job is I could just go back to consulting.
Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful.
So,
it's a good freedom to have.
It's a great freedom.
So last question, do you still draw, and what do you draw?
So like I scribble and if I scribble, like for example, the last scribble I did was like some exterior layouts for the pool area. But in terms of actual like clothing, like no, I don't draw anymore. My job does not warrant me to sketch or draw anymore. But if I had to, yes, I could draw in 3 seconds an item with exactly the right proportions, and it be exactly what it needs to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't miss it.
You think that now, but if it's like ice skating and roller skating, maybe not.
No, that one I do know. Because what's very funny is like sometimes if I'm with my team, I'll be like, it's like this, and I'll just give them chicken scratch or whatever, and they'll be like, I'm like, oh, okay, and they literally like take away this piece of paper of like scratch, but they'll know exactly what it is that I want, based on like that,
Yeah. You're a professional,
I am a professional.
It's weird. It's weird to be a professional at anything. I find it's because, I don't feel as old as I am, not even close. And there's just always that like, not imposter syndrome, but just like, like for you, sketching is just common. You just do it and throw it out there. And other people are like, you just whip that up, and there's, when you've been doing something for a long time, that just is what it is. And it feels like common sense or second nature or just easy, but you forget that it's just not easy for everybody. And you forget the hours and the days and the months and the years you put in honing that skill and figuring it out, it's bizarre. Life is bizarre.
Yeah. I actually think, Matt, that like people, we ourselves, individuals, do not honor the talents that they have more. It's exactly what you say, where it's sort of like I do take it for granted that I do know how to sketch, but I don't take enough time to sit there and say like, wow, Lynn, that's actually amazing. Do you know how many people that don't sketch? Honor the skill that you do have versus taking it for granted. Knock on wood, I don't want to break my arm in order to take that particular talent or skill for granted. But I think it really just goes to, just also, I think just having gratitude for, the everything, those, like I definitely, a few times a week am super grateful for the job that I do have, because it was not, it was not a linear path.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was
Never
definitely, a crazy, So I think that like to land where you land and to take a breather, to be grateful and to be thankful,
Yep.
but also remember the great times, as bad as they were, that got you here. Like it was actually really great.
Yeah.
I did a lot of reflection before this um chat, because, and a lot of it, interestingly enough, especially like my first trips to New York, like they were bad and they were gritty and I was broke and I was,
Mhm.
like, but again, like just being grateful for even having had that experience,
Yeah.
because you're past it now, which can make you even more grateful,
Yeah.
like, but it also makes me really grateful now that I definitely don't have those same struggles,
Right.
or the same insecurities, or the, the low self-esteem,
Mhm.
or simply just education or knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
The wisdom.
I was lucky that I wasn't like, killed or murdered in Manhattan in like, the late 80s,
Yeah.
early 90s, you know.
Yeah. Crazy. Well, this is awesome. I know it's getting past your bedtime, and I've really enjoyed hearing about this, and I hope you can come back on another time and have another chat.
Thanks, Matt, because I appreciate being able to go down memory lane, and also actually um, remembering some really great stuff that happened both in our childhood, but also just with how I even got to like this apartment that I'm sitting here right now in New York, which is just a temporary apartment.
Yep. Yep.
Yes, I have my place upstate, which I'm super grateful for, which gives me like all my sanity.
Yeah.
But I tried to leave New York City once, and I'm back. So I guess I'm here
Keeps
for
pulling you
a
back
while.
in. Yeah. Well, listen, have
Back in.
safe travels to Paris, and enjoy. Don't get stuck.
Thanks, Matt.
All right, Lynn. Be good.
Yeah. All right. Take care, Matt. Thank you.